Oh, I'm sorry. Well, hello there. I'm Brian Sheehan. This is Mayor Pavey to my left and Lexey Yager to my right. Nick Lawler is the magical voice you'll hear from outside, but not on screen. And hey, guys, we're on a podcast. So anyway, this is something that we are doing, and one of the reasons we're doing it and able to do it is with our interns. So I thought one of our first topics that we'll discuss is our intern program, and then specifically the interns that we have for this year. That sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, and you're one of the interns, is that correct?
Yes, I'm Lexey Yager. Sorry, I have a cough drop right now because I have a really sore throat. But yes, I started a few days ago. It's, I think, my 4th day on, and I already feel like I know so much. There's definitely a lot thrown at you, but it's very interesting to see everything that the city does. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that a lot of people don't know about, which is why we wanted to do this podcast, to let people know a little bit more of what we're doing. I've definitely been doing a lot of writing lately for letters for grants, and then also we have bicentennial work coming up, so that's going to be a lot of writing as well. And then I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to hop on a few art projects with Riley Sheehan and see what we can do with that. So, and then we also have Nicholas Newman with us, which he can't be here today, and then Nick, who is off screen.
And Nick off screen, if you'd like to share, Nick is the man behind this program, literally behind the scenes. But tell us a little bit about you were attending Ball State. You will be a sophomore, and this is kind of your world, right?
I was really pretty excited when you guys brought this opportunity up, and I'm excited to get it rolling now. We've been going over a lot of stuff lately, and we kind of get to see everything come to fruition right now. So I guess with that, we're just going to lead into this first topic and see what we can get going from here. And I know the first thing you guys really wanted to talk about was the Overlook and all the stuff that's going on down there.
Yeah, and we can hit that from many different angles. The Overlook is the final project of our stellar program and projects that we did. So starting back in 2016, we went after the Stellar Award designation. We were able to get that. Through that, we had 8 different projects. 7 of those are complete, and this last one, the Overlook, which is very hard to describe before we got to this point, but now that it's done or very close to being done, I think people can finally see it is a unique attraction, particularly for a small rural community to have something like that. The large place feature, the splash area, just a really, really a beautiful park. And kind of I'll pass off to Mike here right now as far as kind of your thoughts on, dreaming that up as a group and with our engineers and getting it to the final place. What's that mean?
Well, I think that it was probably by far the hardest concept to get people to understand. So, as it's opened, I think now people understand a little bit more of what we were trying to do, and that's why we have, I think, probably about 6 months ago, we all figured out, okay, this is how it works, and this is how it's going to play into the other park, and that was beneficial to us, but it took us a while to understand that the general public was still 6 months behind, and so we have kind of very intentionally asked people to kind of let's ease into this new park and let's kind of understand some things and how it's going to work before. I know there's been conversation about a fence and a lot of different things, and we've said, for us, it's new to us, and so let's try to understand it and how it works a little bit before we start putting infrastructure on top of it to try to limit it. And so this weekend was really, really interesting for us because it was kind of a soft opening, I would say, and so we got to see kids interacting in it. And quite honestly, the thing that's most interesting to me is the thing that was bantered about by the general public the most out on social media was not the issue that I would say is the issue that we feel like we've got to address first. So we'll make those adjustments. We'll come back in. We'll redesign what we need to redesign, and we'll get the park figured out. But yeah, it's a big kind of milestone piece for a small community to have that type of a park, and I think the response from the people I've seen and have talked to has been very, very positive, and they're very, very appreciative. And
it's one of those that if you look big picture, the what I think is the most interesting piece about it is, how many communities have a park that actually draws people from other areas? A lot of times, well, that's our park, that's where we go. And if you go visit that place, you might go to that park, but you wouldn't likely just go there for that park. And we've seen that early on that people are coming from other communities to kind of see it, be a part of it. And that's really its location. Our goal has always been to activate our downtown the best we could, and its location being a block away from the courthouse and right downtown, yet you kind of have this rural park, being the Riverside Park, kind of spill up towards Main Street and really become kind of a marketing piece for our community, for the several thousand cars that come through our town every day that get a look over and see families having a good time. So how about I throw it to Lexey on, you've been down to the park?
Yes, it's beautiful. What you pass by on the road is already beautiful, but when you actually go down by it, there's so much more that you don't see. And it's definitely already a very popular commodity. I've seen so many kids and families playing on it, and I've actually gone down there once or twice just to go through it because it's truly beautiful.
And I think that's, I was at Fish Moon last week, and it was funny. There was a kid who had graduated about 5-6 years ago and said, man, downtown is really coming along. I went by that park and I just kept thinking, why wasn't this stuff here when I was a kid? And for you guys, being seniors, you may have that same kind of a feel, but it is something that's important for us as we try to attract younger communities here or get you to come back after you go through schooling.
Yeah, I love it as a graduate, so I couldn't even imagine as a little kid. I'd be thrilled.
So other things about the Overlook is it should be wrapping up by mid-June, so we're about a week away from that. They'll put down the sod out in front. There's another area that's referred to by us as the gateway. That's the other side, and it'll just be kind of a nice green space that will allow us later on to activate different events, maybe art projects, and people being able to go down there, having lunch, those kinds of things. So, well, definitely being hopefully a pride point for a long time, but the best thing for me is to go down there and see how many families are there, and I'm talking from kids and babies splashing in the water to the grandparents walking around seeing it. And then another thing is the entire park is handicap accessible. So we have seen a couple of people down there enjoying the park, being able to actually get into the Small Creek feature and really get around to all of the features. One was a mother who has a hard time taking her kids somewhere where she can get around where they are the entire way, and expressed how happy she was about that. So all in all, very excited about the Overlook. And if you have not been, we encourage you to go down there, take a look. Parking in the area, you can go down into Riverside Park and park in the gravel area and walk your way up. There is a nice little area that gets you up to that point, or between Gettingers and Advance. We just ask that you would park in the middle section because parking in front of Advance Auto and Gettingers is for their customers during business hours.
And Brian, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that we obviously do have to thank the Board of Works and the council because they allow us to do some of these concepts that people don't quite understand until they're complete. And also want to thank Dan Burklow and the Parks Board. Dan has put in a ton of work trying to learn this new system. He not only has a pool that he runs in the summer, now he has a splash pad he's running in the summer, and a new one that has a lot of technology behind it. So,
and speaking of new one, he also, in the midst of all this, had a new baby come along. So
yeah,
he's been very busy.
On the weekend of the soft opening, Dan introduces a new child into the world. So it was a complicated work weekend for Dan, but he did a great job navigating. So we just want to make sure we note that.
And speaking of Riverside Park, as you mentioned, you're going to access the splash pad and the Overlook through Riverside Park. Let's go to the next topic, which is something that is featured at Riverside Park, and that is the summer concert series. I know this is a pretty big point of emphasis every summer, and it's something that, as the years have gone on, it's just continued to grow and continued to be one of those prominent points.
I'll throw it to get started with our president over here of the summer concert series.
Yeah, I'm president again. You know what? I think that the Riverside Park is obviously something that on its own has stood the test of time. I think the Overlook and this park around it really are accents to that, and I think it'll be interesting. Again, we're going to deal with a whole new culture this year because the interaction of the Riverside Park and the concert series Now, instead of having kids playing football off to the side, you're going to have kids wanting to go up into the water park. So that's going to be different. We're excited about the acts we have this year. The acts are really, for the most part, what we did was took those acts that were going to be performing in 2020. And due to COVID, the whole season got canceled, and so they all pushed into 2021. So we're excited about that because we were excited about the 2020 season. And so that's I'll let Brian go through the list of the different acts we have, but obviously this year will be different. We'll have to coordinate how the new parking, that will be an interesting thing to work through. How the Overlook works on a night of a concert, that will be interesting. And then we'll have COVID and the restrictions and more of the level of respect between people and how that works. So it's one of those moments where we're excited but a little bit scared of how it all is going to work together. But I'm sure we'll do fine. We've been doing fine for, what now, 15 years, I think. And
I personally think we're going to see some huge crowds of people just
Sure.
wanting to get out and do something. But still, I've heard, was talking to some people this week and said, they're still a little bit leery of going to larger communities or larger areas, larger, the big box stores. So that might mean that, more of our community just gathering in larger amounts. But the concert series, as I said, if you had a calendar from the year before, it's going to look similar, although dates changed a little bit. We have Slippery and Wet When Wet, which is a Bon Jovi tribute, Saturday, June 19th. July 17th, All My Rowdy Friends, which is a Hank Jr. Tribute, so some good old classic country. We have the Red Clay Strays, nationally known country band from Alabama, and you guys can help me maybe. Dirt country or red dirt country, or it's kind of a genre. Lexey's looking at me
Sorry,
like
I have
she
no
doesn't
clue.
listen to country at all, so my apologies.
And off of the screen, Nick is just smiling.
Yes.
Then we have Dirty Deeds, AC/DC tribute, August 14th. For our generation, that's a huge thing. Certainly for your parents, I'm sure they're familiar with the tunes of AC/DC.
Yeah.
Then, yes, see, people are going wild. Saturday, August 28th, Monsters of Yacht, and that might be new to some people, but yacht music basically comes down to 70s and 80s easy listening music. Be a very nice and relaxing evening under the stars. And lastly, September 18th, Electric Avenue 80s MTV Experience, and that will be just a variety of different types of 80s music. So we look forward to that. Might as well give a shout out to our stage sponsors, El Reparo Mezcal and Monsters Mortuary, who have done a incredible job of supporting this over the past several years. And again, we're looking forward to. I think that's one way that we're going to be able to say, hey, our community's back on track. Things are kind of back to normal, and that's now I know that I've seen Nick down there. Lexey, have you gone to the concerts at all?
Yes, I've been to a few, but obviously, as soon as I was starting to get into it, COVID hit, so
okay,
kind of shut some stuff
well,
down.
it is a nice thing, and it is a regional draw. We'll typically bring in between 1,000 and 2,500, depending on the particular act, so something we can be proud of. And again, I can't think of any concert series anywhere around us that has the ability to have that feel of being out in the country, enjoying music with your friends, and yet you're literally a block away from the heart of your downtown areas.
One of a kind. That's what we love about Rushville, isn't that right? So now we're going to talk about something else that I would consider maybe not one of a kind, but I personally think it's pretty unique in the way that we approach it, and that is our Saturdays Farmers Market. Like you said, just a few feet away from the heart of Rushville, really, and you guys can take that away with all the stuff that's going to be going on there.
Farmers Market starts, it started a couple weeks ago, but it is 9 a.m. to 12:30 on Saturdays. It is behind the facade that is restrooms and storage during the week, and then parking behind it during the week, but that transforms on Saturday to the Farmers and Artisans Market. You can go there and pick up different types of what would we say? Vegetation,
Arts,
Yeah.
vegetables.
there's arts, vegetables,
Handmade goods.
handmade items. Really a neat feature that just a few years ago was basically just blocked off part of a road, and that's where they did it. Well, now they have a permanent home since I think 2018. I think is when we finished that, the farmers market. But they do a great job. There's several vendors that set up, and one of the things that we're working on, and our interns will be doing for us is really helping promote the farmers market, and come to Rushville, visit the farmers market during that period of time. But there's a lot to do around the farmers market, and one of those that was new a few years ago that's been which I understand Lexey has a background with, is the Mocha Moose.
Yes, it's awesome. I love the Mocha Moose. There's so many options there of coffee, tea. There's lots of baked goods there. It's just easy to swing right by before or after the farmer's market. They also serve lunch, like little panini sandwiches, which I'm a huge fan of. There's over 70 flavors for coffee. I mean, you can pretty much get anything you want there. So
wow,
it's pretty good.
She is a walking advertisement.
I didn't expect that, but that was excellent.
No.
Yes, there's a lot there. And there's also a few little booths in there with antiques and locally made stuff as well, like T-shirts. It's pretty cool.
When you think about downtown and on a Saturday, and particularly, I mean, any of us can do that too as far as being locals, but there's a lot downtown that there wasn't a few years ago. There's a handful of boutiques that people could visit. Those being, let's see how we do. We've got the Mustard Seed. We got Warehouse Resale Boutique, Country Made Boutique.
Yep.
If you're not into boutiques, you could go do maybe some electronic shopping. Where would you do that?
The Radio Shack.
The Radio Shack.
Definitely the Radio Shack.
Voice cracks.
You got about halfway through the word there. Yeah.
You can go see Crazy Mark down at Radio Shack. He can set you up. But that is a neat opportunity that brings people to our community is the Radio Shack. If your guys, if you come over and your wife's going boutique shopping, you could perhaps have breakfast over at the corner. Maybe go down in Fields Outdoor, look up some maybe gun and ammo. In the day, go over to lunch for Fish Moon or visit South 113 in the evening. You got Pizza King, you got the pharmacy, you got we got a new Shell station. You can go down and see the Waving Wilkie. There's just a number of things that are downtown now, and so once you're down there, I think the really cool thing in towns that really have a good downtown vibe, you can go down to one thing and then walk around and see many different items. So. It's one of the things that myself and my daughter Riley have been doing lately. I don't know if you noticed, but I've lost about 10 pounds. Okay, I've been eating.
You're looking
right.
pretty good, Brian.
Thank you.
My hope is the cameras from here up.
But we have literally been going down, walking on the trail around Morgan, down into the park, and then walking around downtown. And there are more and more people doing that, which has been neat.
You mentioned stopping in Fields Ammo. If you're going to stop in there, might as well grab a starter disc golf set. Head on over down to Riverside Park.
Yes.
Go into the 18 holes right there.
I was worried we were buying a gun.
Excellent point. And two of us anyway have been part of the Saucer Tosser organization. It is if you've not done that, he's exactly right. Fields Outdoor carries kind of your starter kits on that and other discs, and a very affordable sport to get you about, what would you say, 18 holes to get you probably 5,000 steps.
Oh, definitely. If you throw like I do, it gets you somewhere closer to 7,000 because you got to go chase down all the discs. But
and we started with farmers market, and we ended up there. So there is a lot going on downtown, and it's exciting, and that's happening. Certainly, the city's had a piece in it. The Heart of Rushville, the Chamber, the foundation, the county, the city. You have a ton of partners that are doing a lot of neat things to kind of breathe life into downtown and go from what I think 10 or 15 years ago was truly something that when you drove through, there were signs of struggle for certainly. And now to hear other communities come in and say, man, there's a lot going on in downtown Rushville in particular.
Yeah, and speaking of which, as someone who lived outside of the city limits, I lived out in the country. I have a Knightstown address, for that being said. I lived out. I wasn't necessarily as familiar with the city as I'd always been.
The more he talks, the more I'm curious why we hired him.
Don't question yourself too much. You might find the answer. But it's one of those things where every time I drive through, I notice like, dang, something else is happening. Something else is getting built. Something else is getting fixed. Something else is getting painted. And it's just one of those things where, I left for a year at college. I come back and it seems like the whole place is a little bit different. And it's one of those things where I can't really put a number on just how much I think that this has improved. And seeing the community build as, we are growing as it's growing, I think that's just something really special. And speaking of downtown changing, downtown, improving, what are some of the current things going on around downtown? I know a lot of people have questions about, certain things going in and out. And so I guess we can just tackle that topic now.
I think the big thing that's obviously going to change is wrapping up the Stellar projects. That's going to happen over the next month, let's say, and so I think that will probably bring a closure to most of the big activity that's going on downtown. But you'll see there's some targeted things we've done in some demolition of some rundown blighted properties, and I think that I hope that people have patience in that. Some of them we're doing a couple of years in advance of things that we see needing to happen, but we had the opportunity to go ahead. So we will continue to do that, just trying to clean up neighborhoods and trying to get the overall look of the community. And then there's some projects that I know Brian and the people from the Arts Council are continuing to look at. And one of the opportunities we have now is what's called art ports. And so in the gateway and the Overlook, there are basically attachments at the ground level that allow you to put art in, and it's an anchoring system. So let's say, because she's sitting here, we'll say Lexey does welding and art and abstract stuff. As long as she puts the proper base on it, we can attach it to that art port. And we could move it. We can move it from wherever we have art ports at throughout. So we're looking at putting them in Carroll Jenkins Davis Park. We're looking at putting them in Wilkie Park, the Gateway, and the Overlook. So it's kind of a new thing we're thinking about. But art projects, Brian, do you have any that jumps out at you that you're working on right now?
The bicentennial will allow us to do some fun things to celebrate the community. If you look at the back of another downtown renovation was the Shell. They tore down, complete rebuild. It looks very nice. And whereas the old one, it's kind of funny, it always looked cram packed and like it was busy as could be because all the cars were in there just smashed together. And I drove through yesterday and I thought, man, they're just not very busy. And I looked and there's 8 cars lined up and plenty of cars parked. It's just a much bigger, wider setup that's more convenient to get in and out. So, but on the back of that building, you can see there's an area that was designed for a mural. So that's one of the areas. And then if you have not seen or followed on Facebook, we also have a new guy, Lance I'm going to mess it up now. Waskaboynik is his last name, and was coming through town because people were kind to him, and he was kind of in a rough situation. His vehicle wasn't able to get out of town. I think he said he tried to escape 3 times and kept coming back. But he's done some cool art projects. There are 2 inside El Reparo. He updated our line at 14th and Main, the Mayor's line at 7th and Morgan. Yep. He did an incredible restroom restoration or renovation project at Booker T, and I think he's going to be somebody that does some other art coming up. So we went from where I would say 10 or 15 years ago, we had virtually no art, at least no visual art. We had Riverside performance art going on, but you'll see a focus on that. I think the foundation is working on something right now to get some of that out there. And then Drew Hahn is somebody who's come back to the community. He's working for the hospital with mental health, and he's working on a project that would have just some nice, maybe some art, but also inspirational messages that find their way around town. So a lot going on. And downtown restoration, we still have a number of projects. I think we had El Reparo and Mezcal with renovation projects. We had Tony Abrams at Bobolink with a renovation project. We're looking at 2 buildings potentially in the West End. One of those being an update for Davis Towing, and another one of those being for Laker Implements. So it really takes everyone in the community, both public, private. The schools have had a number of different investments. If you look up there at their new baseball facilities, new housing that we've had, which has been cool. And that'll probably be a topic down the road where we'll just discuss housing and why that's so important. what we do.
Well, one of the things that as I was going through files the other day, I found a video file, and come to find out it was the video file where we flew for Stellar, flew downtown. And I think it would be interesting to fly that exact same path and look at the change, because the jail has changed. Tweedy is now Davis's, and it's changed. The city center is not a building with an old facade. It's a brand new. The Fish Moon is different. So it would be interesting to see that exact same flyover and make the comparison, because I think for a small rural community like we are, I think it would be tough to find one who has made the progress we've made in the last, well, how long have I been in office?
2012.
So no, but I mean, we've been able to accomplish some pretty amazing things, and in a lot of ways more than we thought we were capable of, in a real sense. But it is something to be proud of whenever you look at it and say, wow, that was only 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's probably the neatest thing for us, and you'll see it. You've seen a little bit of that already with me. I'm sure I've heard a couple of the phone calls where I'm talking to someone from another community, and they've called and said, how have you guys figured out how to do this part? I had a call this week on our farmers market and what we thought about that. I've had a call about housing. In the last month, we've had 3 other communities come from as far up as Auburn, and come and tour our facility, tour our downtown. Liberty and Union County was also one of those. And the really neat thing about that is we truly, if you haven't figured that out yet, there's a passion for rural development, for downtowns. And when you're that passionate, you're more than happy to share that with other communities as well. And certainly, as I've said, I hope all of Indiana is successful, because that helps us all in the end as well. And obviously, I mean, I take that all the way up that I want our country to be successful. But if you're successful in what you do and you show great passion and you really focus on your circle of concern, you become more of an influencer than you ever dreamed, because people start saying, "Hey, how'd you do that?"
And I think our circle of concern has gotten bigger. I think we have really adopted that concept of Rushville is an amazing place. Rush County is an amazing place, and I hope that we will be able to convey, and I hope that there will be announcements soon that talk about our region being an amazing place, and how we will continue to work and help out our region to be more prosperous. So.
Well, one of the things that we talk about is river to rails, and you may or may not have heard us talk about this yet, but the railroad is right next to us, and 4 blocks down there's a river. And if you think about the amount of investment as you drive through town, and start just over the bridge, and you see there's a new Casey's. Beacon was newly renovated. You come across the street, you see the new park, Gettinger's improvement. You go on down, there's a new Union Savings and Loan. There's a new downtown Shell. There's a new Criminal Justice Center. There's an updated Tweedy. There's 3 new housing projects: Campaign Flats, Campaign Quarters, the Windsor. Keep moving down. There's the Farmers Market, which is fairly new. You got Fish Moon, the City Center, the Rustwork Training Center, all of that in one area. And I'm going to test you.
Yeah. Did we get 79 projects with the Stellar?
And how many? Well, 79 projects after Stellar for a total of?
68 million. Or
I think you're right.
67, yes. Somewhere in that range. Yes, I just wrote that, so I got that down.
Wow,
Lexey,
and I think
with
it is really cool. Yes, you know me, I'm great with numbers. But I think it is really cool. Like he said earlier, it's cool to see it from an out of city perspective. We both live in the county, and then now being interns, seeing it a little more firsthand. It's definitely really interesting to see. And I agree with Mayor Pavey on flying through and seeing the progress that we've made. I think that would be really cool as well.
Well, one thing I would like to do, Master Controller Nick, is if we can, we'll dive into a last subject, which is basically going back to the first, because I want to dive a little deeper into our intern program in general, but certainly the wave of interns that we have here. Is that okay?
Yeah. Can you repeat that title one more time?
Well, I think Master Controller Nick, is that what I said?
Can we get that as my official title?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
If we could, I'll do
no.
it. So about the internship, I think one of the greatest things about what we're doing right now is that we are kind of the bridge between what's happening here, what's happening in the county, and what's happening with the youth. And I think the fact that all three of us are able to be kind of that bridge, that gap that's able to bring the communication in, help make everything make more sense, I guess is the best way I can put it. You guys have everything on your plates, and then you have another plate with more stuff that needs to be put on. And so I think the fact that we're able to come in and make that, hopefully you make your guys' lives a little bit easier and kind of promote what's happening downtown, because like you said, no one else is able to do the things that we've been able to do over these last at least 5 years with all the improvements that have been made. And so, yeah.
And I would say that when an intern program was thought of, and it's no fault of the person, it's really the fault of me. I thought that running an intern program would be a really simple thing, and we would bring in a person and it would flow seamless. And she did an amazing job of trying. But the problem was I didn't really have a system, and I didn't have time really to devote to it. But we kind of struggled through the first year, and like I say, no fault of the intern. She did a really nice job for what she was given to work with. And then as we moved forward, we kind of developed a plan a little bit more in advance, and we kind of almost had goals and objectives going in. And so the interns were kind of they kind of knew going in what we were going to do, and they had a little bit of kind of freedom. They had to be kind of self-starters. But then when Brian came on board, I kind of shoved the whole program over on his lap and kind of said, Brian, really run this. And he's devoted the time and the energy and has really done a good job of organizing it and really completing goals. So it's really interesting, and I don't think people really probably appreciate the fact that Brian will hire people based on what we're working on that year. So there is a lot more thought that goes into it, I think, than most people would think.
And I think for us, we talk about, yes, in many ways you guys make our lives easier, but in many ways this 10 weeks is really some of the most hectic and stressful for me, because I'm trying to do what I would normally be doing and then hand off more stuff that I would be doing if there were more of me. And so we end up doing a ton of work in that 10-week period. And really, for me, it started, Mason would have been the first intern that I dealt with, Mason Gordon. Mason, just like you guys, have just an incredible amount of skill, passion, creativity, want to be a part, and want to learn. And so we specifically go after, I think, the best and the brightest. We go after people that match what we're going to be doing that summer. We certainly do our homework. We talk to teachers and coaches, and many times people don't know that's even happening, because I think you guys know. I called you and said, out of nowhere, I don't think you guys even had a clue, and said, you're one of the ones that I've had my eyes on, and I've talked to your teachers. Here's what I've got for this summer, and would you be interested in doing that? So that to me is the biggest thing. And then just advice to anybody that has an intern program is, we all get busy. And the worst thing you can possibly do, I think, especially to a very, very smart and talented group of kids, is to ask them to be a part of your program, and then you're sitting around wondering, like, what can I be doing? Or Mason in our stellar presentation said, while other kids are making coffee, I got to make change. And I truly believe that is a big piece of our program, that you guys are helping me right now for a grant submission. And I have the utmost belief that you're going to help us win that. I think that's a neat thing to be a part of and have kids be involved in. But we've had the best and brightest. We've had Mason, which was a state FFA officer.
Yeah, not a bad one to start off with, for sure.
No,
your
not
first one.
And he really did help us build what the expectations we should have on our program. Mm-hmm. And then hopefully we get a brag that Nicholas helped out through the community service class and went off to also be a state FFA officer. Now I do have to say that after working with him the last couple of days, writing stuff, there's a little tiny piece of me hoping for failure because he's very talented at what he does. But no, we certainly would be very, very proud, to know that we were a part of that little mission in his world. But if he's not successful there, I can guarantee you he'll be successful in this program and what we do. So what I want to focus a little bit, Lexey, planning to go to IU.
Yes.
And it is for fashion design and business.
Yes, for apparel merchandising and business.
Okay.
So this is like, I'm not certain on it yet, but I didn't want to go in undecided. And it's kind of a general idea of what I want to do. I want to try to get a few classes and see what I like. But obviously, as we talked about earlier, I do have an interest in like the art and design side of things. And then I am like more drawn towards the business side of it. So I'm hoping we'll see kind of what I want to do from there, and we'll go from there and see what I like. And I'm really excited to go to IU. It's kind of always been the dream to go there. So.
Now, are you going to IU because Nick goes to Ball State?
No.
That's the exact reason. Don't let her tell you differently.
Yeah, we may have forgot to say that there
I gotta
might
get as
be
far away from him as possible.
there may be a romance in the room between those two.
That happened long before.
Yes,
they
long
came
before
into
here, and I just made sure that they promised me that if there ever was any kind of a breakup, it's going to occur after this summer program. But
Yeah,
we
it's the whole
think
thing. Had to sign a contract and everything.
so. But so far, you've been in a couple days. What are your initial thoughts of kind of what you're seeing?
Well, like I said earlier, it's only my 4th day here, and I feel like I've been here for a month. You definitely learn a lot just right off the bat, which I'm enjoying a ton. Right now, like I said, I've been doing a lot of writing, and it is really cool to see. Like, there's so much that I would have never even known if I wouldn't have been a part of this program, and it's just like very hopeful to me to see how you guys are making an effort to lead the way in rural Indiana, and how like you want to keep building us up as a community. So I think that's really cool, and it's neat to see all the different projects that are coming to achieve that goal. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited that you guys know the importance of art in the community, and I hope that I can help out with that and help you guys in any way possible.
Awesome. Your biggest learning, anything so far where you're like, I did not know that? And it could be ridiculous learning. I don't care.
I don't know. Just like everything, like just the 79 projects that have gotten done. I didn't realize that there were so many. Literally, I feel like I've learned everything I've learned so far has been new learning. I feel like.
Awesome. And Nick, they're not going to see your pretty face here, but Nick is going to be at Ball State his sophomore year. Nick just last year, what was it? Runner-up for the Letterman scholarship.
That is correct. The David Letterman scholarship through Ball State. I was a first runner-up for that.
Do you even know who David Letterman is?
Yeah. Going to Ball State, it's kind of a sin if you don't know who David Letterman is, but especially in the communications department. But
so tell us a little bit about what we've had you do in the first few weeks has been very much all technical stuff, but kind of share what you've been doing.
Well, my first couple of days were spent setting up the exact same what you're looking at right now, actually, from the microphones to the audio board, the whole setup really, and then obviously I've been working a lot with cameras, and I helped set up the OWL. That was a pretty innovative piece of technology. I got to say, after working with that thing for a little bit, I think it might be one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It's pretty neat.
I'm extremely impressed with it. Lexey thinks it's really cute.
I think it's adorable.
I think it kind of
so cute.
scares me a little bit, but
It looks like a little owl. It has eyes, and the crazy thing is, it is what a lot of teachers use during the pandemic, that you get up and walk around, and it's smart enough to follow you, and then if someone else talks, it dives off to them. It really is kind of a cool piece of equipment.
Absolutely. Just playing around with that for a few minutes was fantastic. But, the main thing I'm going to be kind of focusing on and zoning in on is a lot of that marketing approach that we want to take to downtown. So out there in the city, you might see me running around every once in a while. I know if you want to stop by the farmer's market, you'll see me being corny.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
And that is not a
that's
pun
my
on
new
words.
favorite thing I've learned was that we have a giant corn cob at the farmer's market. That's my favorite thing that I've learned so
I might
far.
double up on that. That might be it. My favorite thing as well. I can just imagine Brian writing the check for a 10-foot corn cob.
Yeah, as I've actually had the chance to speak at the Indiana Arts Commission and about art in downtown, and how I have no artistic ability, but I am a connector for different things. And I said, and everyone in the room laughed. I said, you have not had fun until you're bidding on an 8-foot corn cob for your farmer's market.
Do we have a giant carrot as well?
It's about 4 feet. Yeah.
It's not nearly as impressive.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Not impressed with corny.
giant's an overstatement there, but
That's one my daughter Riley's very proud of. She repainted it and
I didn't know
put
that's
the
cool.
what would you say is on the top of it?
They don't even know that we have the 3 jazz musicians.
No, we have 3 jazz musicians. You've seen the new TQ midget race car.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Which I consider that an art project as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But,
definitely an art project.
So we have a camera that you're out there, and then dare I say it, but we do have a drone that will get us some footage. We do not go out and surveil the public, as I think at one time communicated. We largely use it for marketing efforts, and then hopefully we don't need it for this, but it is something that can be used if there is. We have somebody that's maybe on the run, and it's got the thermal imaging where they can kind of track somebody, or it could show up to a building that can kind of find, hey, there's a hot spot, there's where you need to go do stuff. But we do intend to use some of the video that Nick shoots, the drone footage, pictures that we have, and really start to visually, through pictures and video, tell our story to outside of our community, the cool things we got going. So I am very, very excited to see Nick's work come to life here soon on that.
I'm glad somebody is.
And then lastly, we did talk about Nick Newman, this year's valedictorian. Nicholas Newman, I'm sorry. This year's valedictorian, and I don't want to overshadow. We have number 4 in the class, Lexey, here, and then his number 2 in the class, Nick. So again, some of the best and brightest that join our group. Last year we had Kyle Bacon. In the past we also had, and Kyle was a Lily, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kyle was
Yeah.
a Lily.
Kyle was a
Yeah.
Lily. Barbara Hirschberger was a Lily. Chloe was her class president. Riley was really came to us for the arts when we did that. So I would put our intern program, the kids that we pick, how much work that we get done, the quality of work we get done, up against anyone. And we've actually had
no pressure, guys.
and we're off to a great start. I would say that. So for us, welcome to the team, and with a little luck, maybe we'll steal you guys for a winter or next summer or something like that too. We'll see. Now you'd have to perform and then also have to want to do that, but just know that that's a possibility.
Well, from a completely unbiased opinion, I think you guys have done a great job of picking interns this year. That's just from my view.
All right. I think at this time we'll wrap it up, but thank you. We hope that if you picked up all or pieces of this, you found it informational, entertaining, and you'll tune in to see what we got to say the next time we do this.
While others were making coffee, we were making change straight from the mouth of Mason Gordon. From Mayor Mike Pavey, Special Projects Manager Brian Sheehan, intern Lexey Yager. This is Nick Lawler for the first episode of the Rushville Recap. Please check in, and we will be back for more. Thank you very much.